Thanks a lot for the introduction. So as promised, a very, very brief introduction. I won't tell a lot about myself other than that feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn and you can find my profile down there as well. And then a very short introduction about Axway. Axway is a global enterprise integration software vendor. So we are basically making sure that data is moving between inside organizations. For example, at Airbus, large files, large design documents, large video documents, that they are being shared inside Axway and of course with business partners. So that is what we do. We are part of 74 Software, which is, as I said, a global software company headquartered and stock noted in Paris and headquartered in Europe, in Annecy in France. With that, and you can of course look at axway.com if you like to get more detail and more information about our solutions. Today I will focus on the AI topic, and my first slide, I thought I can't start without McKinsey. Let's do that. No, I was looking for the actual AI usage, because what I saw at organizations, and that is what you see down here, if you ask people, are you working with AI? Well, almost everybody will say yes. I'm absolutely keen to meet that 12%, by the way, that apparently hasn't done anything. And of course, I'm not going to debate that this is correct. This is what people say. But what I hear, and that is what I mean, is it a complete story? It probably isn't, because what I hear a lot when I talk to, and once again, we only talk to large enterprise customers, so I want to be clear about that. We are focused on the Forbes 500. That's why Airbus, for example, is a customer. And you can always debate. Of course, we have a couple of smaller customers, but the vast majority of our customers are in the BMW, Airbus, ING area. And what you see, and that is what I see at my customers as well, is what was nicely summarized by my Finnish friends from FAIR. And this is, of course, a terrible slide, so I'm not going to read it aloud. But I'm sure that the organizers will share it. But the key message is there's kind of a two-tier pattern is emerging. And that is what I definitely recognize. So startups and small companies are often built around AI and are adopting AI, full stop. But there's also a large group of long-time existing large organizations, and their AI usage is quite different. Their AI usage often, I'm not saying always, but the vast majority of their projects, and I think the reality is over 90%, is in the pilot, test, sandbox, those kind of phases. And that is, so the fundamental challenge, and that is what I quite like in the second chapter on this slide, is not that much anymore to push organizations to start using AI, but the challenge way more is to scale it up from pilot usage, from test usage into real production usage. Or, of course, because that is the intention of pilots, at least that's our intention of pilots, sometimes they fail, which is perfectly cool as well. So they either fail or they need to move into production. And that is kind of the heart of my story that I want to discuss with you today. So to summarize it slightly nicer, I briefly created this slide. So we are somewhere looking at large organizations once again, and I look specifically at Europe, but I'm quite sure that this is true for Asia, PAC, and the Americas as well. We are somewhere in the middle between the classic test type of things and real production, real business value, real cost savings. Okay, and then the question, of course, what do you need to do to travel to come from pilots into real managed large-scale enterprise-level production. And there's a lot to say about that. We already made the joke, is there one solution? Well, probably not. But a key topic from, let's say, my perspective, from our perspective, which is, let's say, a data integration perspective, a security perspective, a governance perspective, are these three topics. You need AI, by definition, is data hungry. So you need to organize, and I always remember, we have, as I said, we're a software company. I'm in pre-sales, so I have a couple of technical guys. We have per product, a couple of thousands of pages of documentation. So 2-3 years ago, I said to my team, cool guys, we're now going to use AI. Okay, we put all the documentation in an AI system. Of course, my team is quite technical, so that was easy peasy. And then we can search. And that worked perfectly cool for 3 months. But after that, all products were updated. They are updated on a quarterly basis. And then you need to re-upload all the information. So there they are again. And that gets a little bit boring. So it's not only about adding data, it's also about doing that on a very regular basis. And maybe for airplanes, the update level is slightly lower than for other products, but still, you need to have some way in which you add a lot of data constantly towards your feed your AI engine constantly with that. The second topic is security and access. And we're going to dive a little bit in detail into that topic. That is a complex topic. I'm not going to debate that. It can be fairly technical, but still we need to discuss it. And then finally, there is the whole governance topic. So you're adding another set, unfortunately. It's not a single application AI, of course. You're adding a set of applications together with a large set of additional services. That is what is going to happen. So you need to govern or manage or whatever you want to call that in order to be sure that they are secure, that they meet rules and regulations. The AI Act is where I had some discussions around lately with some partners. So there sooner or later you will need governance. So let's quickly jump into this. This is really how AI works, and a lot of people don't really believe it, but it is still true. So there is a chatbot, and this is public AI, just to be clear, a generic public AI. There's a chatbot or an agent, and that directly talks through APIs to the AI application. There's no security, there's no identity, there's no nothing. So it simply shares anything, literally anything it knows, which is perfectly cool if you're Copilot or Gemini or whatever, and you're fed with public information anyway, there's no problem. However, in a company setting, you are going to add company-specific data. I'm not going to discuss in detail how you can do that. There's 2 ways. RAC is the first way, often used. Once again, if you want to know the details, please look it up. The other way is called fine-tuning, but at the end of the day, the result is exactly the same. You add company-specific data to to create your AI system. Let me put it like that. And the first challenge, what I said, you need to constantly feed the data. So your CRM system, your HR system, your other production system, your super specialized systems that you might have, all the data in some way or form, if you want the AI application to be aware, and probably you want that, then you need to organize some way of feeding. So the first challenge that you need to work on, you need to have a high-speed highway, a really huge high-speed highway from all your applications into your AI application. The good news, it's not really new, of course, because, for example, for reporting for your data lake, that is comparable. So I'm not saying this is new, but it adds another big requirement to your existing integration platform to feed your AI platform. So the fundamental question the first question that I like to raise to all of you is your integration platform that you're using today, is that capable of pushing extremely big data sets into your AI platform? If the answer is yes, cool, then you can continue. If the answer is no, then you have to work on improving your integration platform. That's what it comes down to. Okay, so that was the first topic. The second one is, and you probably saw that one coming, is security. So again, this is really how it works. So let's assume for a second that we have all kind of relevant company data in your AI application, as I called it, and this is the way how it works. That probably won't meet any of the security, compliance, regulatory, and all other requirements that are applicable for your specific business. And of course, that differs a little bit. FSI, military industry have different requirements than retail and transport and logistics, but everybody has to meet the requirements. So what you need to do as a second step before you can move into production is you need to put a gateway in the middle to secure and manage the access. Full stop. From your chatbot into your AI application and the other way around. And this is what we offer today and what is a full AI gateway. There's a lot of things around it. I will discuss a limited number of them. I can slightly summarize them. So the first thing that you have to do is there is from your consumer, so from your chatbots, so your employees or your partners typing in questions into your AI applications and your other applications, you can check, do I want them to raise this question? Is it allowed to raise the question, what should I cook tonight? Might be a really interesting question, but do you want to pay? Because clearly an AI application will be a costly one. So do you want to spend your company money on such a question? Yes or no? That's a choice. So the first kind of, what do we accept and how do we handle? There's on the top left, bottom left, there's LLM orchestrator. So you can orchestrate which AI application will be used. For legal questions, there might be a different one than for the cooking, for example. So that's the first way. Then, of course, the other way around. So the AI application hopefully will create, and trust me, they always create an answer, which is an advantage and a disadvantage because you might have an opinion about that. I don't think I need to mention Grok down here, but that is probably the easiest example. They have a slightly different view on what is acceptable and what not compared to quite a lot of others. As a company, you might have an opinion about that as well, or your security folks might have an opinion about that as well. So you can manage what is coming back, and you can do that, of course, for, let's say, more what do I find an acceptable answer, but it can be way more pragmatic as well. If you connect your HR system, then all salaries are available. Do you want all your employees to look up all salaries? Well, I probably know the answer. Well, first of all, it might not be the best idea to do that. Let me start with that, but still, let's assume for a second you've done it. Then, of course, you want to check who is it, and only a manager can see his employees' salaries, and he can't see any others, and normal employees can't see anybody's salary except their own. So those kind of things is what you can manage the way back. And then the third topic that I like to is what we call token rate limiting. That is really an interesting topic as well, and a heavily discussed topic. AI is expensive, is really, really expensive. The way it is paid for is based on tokens. All AI applications, at the end of the day, you pay per token. And you might want to manage the amount of tokens that team members, groups, departments, whatever, are allowed to consume. You can, of course, block it. You can make it visible what they're using. You can block it. You can do a lot of things in that middle layer. But you probably, and otherwise your CFO probably has an opinion about that. So that's the third high level. There's a lot more to say about it, but this is, given the time, what I wanted to say. So In summary, before you can move into production, your second challenge, so if you've solved the first challenge and you're able to feed a lot of data into your AI application, then your second challenge is you need a security layer, a management layer between your chatbots, and we'll discuss agents in a second, but definitely between your chatbots and your AI applications for securing data security, token management. For a couple of more functionalities, you absolutely need to implement an AI gateway before you can move into big production. Okay, so that was the second topic. Then the third topic is around governance. So AI applications, and there's another acronym down here, MCP servers. AI applications will create a lot of, let's say, integration services. So they are fed with data, and when working with AI applications, they typically talk to your backend applications and to other services as well. If they want to do that, then it's called an MCP server. It's basically an API for an AI system. So why they aren't called APIs, I'm not sure, but somebody wisely decided that this is MCP servers. So you will get, next to your normal integration services that you have already, and large organizations typically have a huge amount of APIs, huge amount of legacy, web service type, all kind of integration services available. You're adding an additional set, and you need to govern all of them. And that is why we created already 5-6 years ago a independent governance layer. And given the time, I'm not going to in full detail, but the idea is at the bottom, you have all kind of integration platforms, classic API ones, software development on the right-hand side, the repositories, streaming platforms like Kafka or Solace, and on the left, completely left bottom side, the MCP, the Model Context Protocol services. All of them are up and running in all kind of different systems. That is, of course, perfectly cool from a technical perspective, but is a nightmare from a governance perspective, because nobody has an overview, nobody knows if they meet the security requirements, and particularly for those organizations that started to work in an agile way and created a huge amount. I once went to a Dutch bank. They had 500 development teams creating applications, and as part of those applications, they created APIs, they included AI in their applications, they created MCP servers, so it was a full mess. And one thing's for sure, if you have 500 people, 60% is doing okay, 20% is doing great, and you feel it coming, 20% is horrible. So that means 500, that means 100 development teams are creating horrible things. Good luck with that. So what you need is an independent governance layer, and that is what we created at the top. So there is a service registry, and a service registry sounds really interesting, but at the end of the day, it's nothing more or nothing less than a full list of all your services. Automatically discovered, we implemented agents for that, so we put agents on all the data planes at the bottom. They automatically report all the services that are created by those 500 teams or by anybody inside the company, automatically discover them and create them in the service registry. That's step one. If you have that overview, then your integration experts and or systems, linting, that's called linting, can rate the integration services. So the system can say this one is good, this one is bad. And if it's bad, probably an expert can take a look and advise the team what needs to be done to improve. So don't disapprove or anything like that. Of course, that needs to be done as well. But the fundamental point is an expert can explain to the team, this is not okay, this is not in line with our policies, this is the issue. We see customer data and no security. That ain't matching, so please add this level of security given this level of data that you're handling. So that is the first step. And if you've done that, then you get a list of, let's say, approved services that are ready for reuse, and then you can push it into what we call a marketplace. Some other companies call that a developer portal, but at the end of the day, you create integration products, you publish them on a portal so that everybody, internal developers and external developers, can start to use those services in a full self-service way. So that is, of course, completely self-serviced, and then it is executed through the data planes. So the final topic the final question that I wanted to raise before I move into a challenge is integration AI and AI asset governance layer. That is really, really important to start thinking about. That probably was already important pre-AI age, let me call it like that. So 10 years ago, this was already an important question for APIs and for integration assets in general. And with AI, that is what we strongly believe it's even more important to create this governance layer to make absolutely sure that any service, whether it's AI or more classic, meets the security requirements, meets other requirements, and can be reused inside and outside your organization. And then there is, of course, agentic AI. To be completely honest with you, in a company context, I'm still really interested in what will be happening, agents talking to each other autonomously, how that works together. On the other hand, there are real use cases that our customers, especially around system health and let's say data flow monitoring, there are already customers that are creating agents that are monitoring the data flows, and if a data flow for whatever reason fails, it automatically tries to recover. So you're replacing IT administrators by AI agents. That's at least what they're trying to do. So I'm not debating there's use cases, but we're really in an early stage, of course. It's really, really interesting. And of course, this multiplies the issues that we had. So far it was people communicating, and hopefully your employees and your partners are somewhat smart or somewhat whatever you want to call it. Agents is, of course, a very interesting new way. So what we are building right now, and I have to be honest about it, this is not what we have. So what you've seen so far is what we have today. So that is what you can see today. I can literally show you right now. This is not ready yet. This is what we're working on. And you probably get the point. So again, there's two things. So if agents start to talk to each other, you might want to put a gateway in the middle. Again, to manage that and to make absolutely sure that they don't go ballistic. I don't know if you know that vending machine story. There's a really funny vending machine that they put completely AI driven. So it was such a standard vending machine with drinks and chocolate bars and things like that in there, and a small iPad in there that people could make commands, and they made it completely AI driven. And it started all good, and slowly it started to order some chocolate bars and some drinks, and then over time people were raising questions, and somebody was saying, oh well, I'm interested in gold bars. And then it ended up with the machine ordering gold bars to be put into the machine. So that kind of tells you what happens if agentic AI is unmanaged. Might not be the best way forward. So you want some security and control between your agents. And you definitely want to have some kind of governance layer. And those standards, A to A, for agent communication are even less mature than the MCP one. So that is a huge challenge for us. To be able to govern that and to be able to secure that. But that is definitely a topic that our R&D department is working on big time, and that will be implemented literally step by step, but literally over the next couple of months in order to be ready for the kind of the next step. So in summary, and that's good news because I got a 3-minute sign. These are the 3 topics that I discussed and shared with you, plus the challenge on agentic AI. So it's about adding data in a managed and constant way. So it's really creating that highway, that data highway into your AI applications. If you have that up and running, then you can start to organize security and access control for your chatbots, and in the future possibly for your agents. And then finally you can start to govern all of that using an independent multi-vendor governance layer on top of your data layer. And with that, I'm going to say thank you. And I think there's 1 minute for a question.
So question will be part of the round table.
Then I won't say questions. Then I only say once again, if you like to connect with me, feel free to do that on LinkedIn. And thanks a lot for your attention. And I'll join you, of course, during the round table.
So, a round of applause for Roger.
Thank you very much.
Roger.